if you knew him, he had a quick wit. He was a very humorous guy. He loved the kid. My favorite gag of all time is when he'd put his finger right about here. I say, what is that? What's on your shirt there? And you've seen this? And you look down, you know, and you know, next time if you fall for it, and about the 30th time you catch on. You don't look down, because you get a little tingle in your tip of your nose. But he just had so much fun with everyone he met, and I think that goodwill really paid dividends. He had a couple businesses, one in South Mountain that sort of really flourished. My mother, of course, did all the organization, but he was the guy, the front man. He was very gregarious. And then they had a laundry service, which is now a beautiful park. I hope you get to see it before you leave town. It's called Main Street Park, and it is decorated with lights, and at Christmas it's very, very beautiful. But the city, after a series of sales, took that building and transformed it into a park. When I think about my father, I think about his conversation style, and I don't know if you saw this, Pastor Bill, but I know Dennis did. He would take the long way around, and very casual, but never quite sure where he was going with his conversations. I do recall his time at the Washington Gas Light Company, which is a utility in the Washington, D.C. area. We grew up outside of Washington, D.C., and his first job, his first great job, where he had a career, began with him reading meters. And I don't know these days if people still read meters, but in those days, you literally had to go by and look at the meter reading and record the numbers and submit them to figure out how much to charge the customer. And one day he went to a family's house somewhere near Georgetown, which is an uptown part of Washington, D.C., and their meter was in the basement. They opened the door, let him down, he checked the meter. And on the way back up the stairs, he was about ready to leave, and a woman said, "Would you like a glass of water?" And he said, "Yeah, I sure would." And she said, "Well, I'm Mrs. Nixon. This is my husband, Richard Nixon." And so he had those kind of Tom Hanks moments, where odd things happen. And he did very well at the utility company, but eventually he gravitated to this area, like a lot of people from the Washington area do. And before he left town, though, he went through I don't know how many cars, driving the 10 miles from Washington Gas Light Company to our home. And the story that I love to hear him tell, that my brother Stan does it great, I should get him to do it, but he's driving along, it's called the John Hanson Highway. John Hanson was a big deal in Congress way before our time, and big super highway now. And he was driving along, coming home, almost at the exit, and he looks and sees a tire rolling down the road. And he chuckles to himself, "Well, that poor guy. Before somebody lost a tire, wait until he figures that out." So he goes on to the exit ramp, and the car dives right into the gravel. Oh, I'm that poor guy. So he lost his tire. And I don't know how he got home. I mean, it's hard to say. But he went through a lot of cars, I'll tell you that. We had one car that we knew 3 miles out that he was coming because the muffler system was so bad. "Dad, I'll be here in a minute, get the dinner on the table." So that was part of who he was. I got to show you this. This will not be funny to you at all, but Brother Dennis, he's about the only one that'll maybe get a kick out of this. My father actually was a very good dancer. Dad was a good dancer, wasn't he? Dad was a good dancer. He knew how to do ballroom dancing. Okay, go ahead. Trust me, he knew how to do ballroom dancing. But he developed. This is, we're into the '90s and then the 2000s and so on. So he's not going to do the box step like that. Instead, he does this. This would go on for 30 or 40 minutes. And I just love that. I mean, I do it all the time, just because people don't know. That poor guy, he's got that arthritis in his back. He can't. So those are some of just quick memories. I can think of his sayings. Tell me if anybody ever heard anybody say this. You got a slow driver in front of you, and you say, my friends from Philadelphia way, put another pine knot in it, pal. Did you ever hear that? He loved to say that. Hurry up. And then his other one was, particularly for Brother Ron, because Brother Ron was always playing music at these different clubs, and he said, oh yeah, Dad, it's a great club. It's a nice part of DC, 16th Street, which you don't know, but not a nice part of town. And my father would say, son, I weren't born yesterday. And, you're not going. And so I don't know how that ever worked out. I don't think you did go. Let's just say you went. Well, I don't know. Maybe you worked it out. Maybe he went with you. I don't know. So maybe Bernie was there. I don't remember. But he had another side. Don't worry, Pastor. I'm almost winding up here. I just wanted to tell you this because this really touches me. He had this Waynesboro laundry service. My mother was very involved in it. I think, I know my wife Barbara worked there for a while. I don't know if anybody in the other part of the family did. And we had a woman named Betty. And Betty loved to go to see the Washington Capitals. And that is not an easy drive from here. It's Largo, Maryland, and now they've made it into a flea market. There's a new Staples Center, but in that day you'd go to Largo and watch the Capitals. So she'd make that long drive, but that's what she really loved to do. And that was her personality. And one day she, always just a wonderful, friendly, all about customer service. They did this thing called wash and fold, where you'd bring your clothes in and somebody would clean them and put them in a good container, and you're good to go for the next week. And she was just top employee for that. And she came to my father and said, hey, my landlord is on hard times, and he's going to lose that house, and I'm going to have to find a place to live. And my father said, what bank has the note? And so she told him. And he went, I don't know how he pulled this off. He really is an incredibly smart guy. And he somehow got the note and said to her, don't worry, you don't have any rent, but you have a place to stay. And he kept control of that house as long as she was alive. But he did that for so many kindnesses. And by the way, I'm looking around here and there's some really kind people. So I want to thank you for that, for being kind, not just to me, but to my parents, for people. They haven't been able to clear their snow. People clear their snow. Sean, our new neighbor, has done that, and there's others here. Forgive me, I've not mentioned everybody's name. I know Janet has been with my mother for years and years, and is just a friend. And Hildy has been wonderful with taking care of the pills and so on, medication. So we have a lot of people to be lift up and say thank you, including Pastor Bill Gray, who has been very faithful. Like, Mom and Dad just can't get out of the house. So he would come, the Snyders would come, but he would come, Pastor Gray would come and pray, and I mean, he would literally list, what can I pray for? Well, my shoulder's been bothering. Okay, we're going to pray for your shoulder. And I mean, he would go through a long list, read the Bible, have prayer, and then he'd go to his next breath. So there are, doctors may not make house calls, but pastors do. So at least one pastor anyway. So with that, I'm going to ask Brother Bill to come with us, come to the lectern and share with us. Please.